When I think about Cancer, I think about a really proud crab, I think about a huge exoskeleton and giant pincers. I think about armor. I think about a shield. And I also think about something incredibly vulnerable and soft and gooey in the center of that exoskeleton. Hello friends, welcome to your reading for the Cancer New Moon happening on Wednesday the 25th of June at 8:31 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. How are you? How have you been since the full moon? How was your solstice? Do you feel peace at all? Do you feel hope at all? I hope you do. I had a beautiful time. I'm going to be really honest with you. The last 2 weeks have been monumental. I've really felt something shift, and I hope that I can maintain this new direction. I took a boat and I went to see a very good friend of mine and her partner, and they showed me such a beautiful time. I was brought back to so many different parts of myself, parts that these new friends didn't really know about, but we excavated. We went into a beautiful forest, a forest like I'd never seen before, with moss all the way up the trunks of these trees, and the air was so fresh and so clear. And I think that I was getting a little bit high from all of the mycelium that was wafting around in this forest. We found this waterfall, which I'd never seen one the size of this before. I think I'd never been face to face with something so huge, and the drop was so deep I couldn't even see where the water was going down to the bottom of this huge fall. The next day we went underground. My friend Julia took me to a crystal cave, naturally occurring sort of Aladdin's den. It was so powerful down there, and to squeeze through all of the different rock formations and be careful not to touch them and not to sort of leave a trace of our presence, but to be able to have the privilege of sitting amongst all of that incredible energy underneath the earth was life-changing. I went through all of this weird experience in my head of being paranoid about being buried alive. All of these different fears kind of rose up in conversations before we went down. And as I was in there, I felt comforted. I felt some extra presence around me. I felt that I was not going to suffocate, and that I was facing an unconscious fear. It was one of the most powerful experiences that I've had to date. And it was very quiet and very humble and just a fun day out. But internally, I felt the cogs moving. I felt things changing. Solstice was last night, I believe, or the night before. No, it was last night. And so that gateway into further light emerging happens down here in the Southern Hemisphere. Last night was the longest night of the year. And so now every evening from now on, there will be more light occurring for us. The days will be longer from here on in. It's been quite a dark time here in Australia. The sun's been going down very, very early, and I'm looking forward to shedding more light on the subject. Although in that beautiful way of split, I do work well in the dark too. And I think being underneath the earth with my friend taught me that I could see in the dark too. It was really, really needed, I think. And as much as the faith can waver sometimes, or the hope can waver, as much as this sort of work feels incredibly irrelevant at times, that's met with the antithesis. That's met with the absolute necessity of this work and of this time of sharing these sorts of stories and sitting together just for a couple of moments to breathe and to care for each other. The sign Cancer wants everyone to be looked after. The sign Cancer is put on this earth in order to set the space and to feed and to nurture. So just as we enter into the solstice, as we begin the first opening breaths of Cancer season, I hope that you can feel some sort of blanket around your shoulders, or I hope that you've had some experiences in the last 2 weeks that kind of felt like they were coming from somewhere else. See, just talking to you now, that forest and all of the moss up every single trunk of every single tree, that waterfall that I couldn't see the bottom of, but I saw a miniature of on the walk down to find the actual falls. There was a miniature one on the side, and little stone and little streams of water were replicating the magnitude of what was to come. You can probably tell I'm sort of going here and there and everywhere. But I feel really awake, and I feel really ready for what work needs to come and for the rest of the astrology of this year. I think that we're sitting at a threshold right now, friends, and I think that come next week, let me just check the date, it's the 11th of July. No, the 7th of July, I should say, when the planet Uranus moves into Gemini. That will be the last domino in this massive outer planet change. So life doesn't feel the way that it used to. Life won't be the way that it used to. In fact, our relationships will have changed as well. And we are emerging into something unknown. But if we can approach it with the awe that a waterfall inspires in us rather than fear, if we can approach it with some sense of gratitude for our friends, for the people in our lives that do tend to our needs, those that we feel proud to tend to their needs as well, then I think that we're going to be okay. The next month, Cancer season, is an absolute spotlight on reciprocal mutual aid. So if you need something, please reach out. If you are confronted by the image or the knowing that someone that you really love needs something and they're too afraid to ask for it, reach out. Now is the time to be as gentle and vulnerable as we want to be. When I think about Cancer, I think about a really proud crab, I think about a huge exoskeleton and giant pincers. I think about armor. I think about a shield. And I also think about something incredibly vulnerable and soft and gooey in the center of that exoskeleton. I think about the element of water, our emotional body, our emotional ecosystem, our emotional literacy as well. Everything's a journey in the zodiac, and when we begin in Cancer, we begin an initiation into an emotional self. That's why it's so nice to have it sort of wrapped up and cared for, intended to, by the sign Cancer. I'm sure that you know Cancers in your life, and I'm sure that they all have something in common, which is that they are committed to caring about you or caring about those around them. Sometimes maybe caring less for themselves, but that's their lesson in this life, is to find that reciprocity. There's something really amazing about standing behind a Cancer who's protecting you as well, because they will attack when threatened. Their family is threatened, they will attack. I always think about just simply saying, "What did you say about my family?" That's Cancer. They will take a bullet. So as that is the sort of colouring of these readings, as we're sort of moving into a new moon, a night of manifestation, we're moving into the cleansing of the moon by the sun, a fresh new start. I want you to think about the idea that the sign Cancer is ruled by the moon. So for the next month, the next season, I want you to really pay special attention to how your body is reacting and responding to the flow and the shades and the ebbs of the moon. I want you to get your diary out and just mark what's happening with the moon from here, the new moon in Cancer, to 2 weeks away, the full moon in Capricorn. There's going to be the first swell. Think of that as the tide, and then the ebb will come after that into the next new moon in Leo. But this is really deep blue sea that we're working with tonight, everyone. And I know and I feel the tension in the air. I feel people's fear. I feel my own fear. And I sometimes am finding it a little bit difficult to show my fear. But I think in this conversation with Cancer, in this way that we are actively acting on the principle of mutual aid, I think it's okay to say you're scared from time to time. That doesn't make you a coward. In fact, that makes you very honest. And I think that honesty and truth is what we really need to hang on to right now. I think that the sense of polarization and split amongst our fellow man, our fellow woman, our fellow human is pretty powerful. It's pretty strong right now. It feels like a chasm. And so probably something in you, the Cancer in you, is wanting to protect your own. And that's okay. That's okay. But keep your ears open and your eyes open to threads of connectivity between the others. I'm really glad for this format, for these readings, because I would like you to sit with your ideas and your feelings around each of the signs coming up and try and do some reconciliation with yourself. Something about astrology has us pit each other against each other. Can't stand an Aries, can't stand an Aquarius, But really, when we look at our birth chart, we realize that we are actually included. Every single sign has its influence over us. Every single planet has its influence too. It's just a matter of where they lay in the birth chart to what is spotlit. So get comfy, get a cup of tea, get a glass of water, whatever you need to. But I want to drop into something that feels like a meditative rhythm. And I want you to slow your breath, and I want you to slow your mind for a moment as we go deeper with this new moon. Remember, a new moon is a chance to start again. So if you need to start again, then tonight is the night. I want you to feel the size of Jupiter. I want you to imagine in your mind's eye that Jupiter and the sun and the moon are all coming together on this night. Everything that's working in you, everything that you want to shift, that you want to change, that you want to ask for, is being comforted by Jupiter. Jupiter, in its size, in its grandeur, in Cancer, is really willing to help. So whatever it is that you do ask for at this new moon, know that Jupiter is listening too. I want you to feel that it's all moving through you. I want you to visualize that waterfall. It started from here, splashed down into a pool, filled up, spilled over to who knows where. It was so loud, but it was so silent too. Still was the feeling in this wilderness. And looking at something as beautiful as this waterfall, I recognized that with or without me, this thing is still flowing. It's always there. It's always churning and moving the water to keep it healthy and to keep it fresh. I want you to feel the darkness underneath the earth. I want you to be as scared as I was, just for a second, at the size of what lies beneath. There's so much that we can't see. There's so much underneath the earth's surface. Ecosystems, beauty, creation. I want you to see those crystals dripping from the ceiling and recognize the millions and millions and millions and millions of years that it's taken to form such beauty, such private, unconsumable beauty. I think that we should pull some cards and get stuck into a little reading. Now, I'll say it as I always do. You're welcome to skip through to your rising sign if you've got a cut and run, if you just want a quick reading. I'd recommend that you stay around and listen to your sun sign and your moon sign too. If you'd like to start from the top and head to the finish with me, then you'd be very welcome to listen to the whole thing too. I don't know how long this is going to go. They usually go for about 45 minutes to an hour, so up to you. Maybe you can sew this into your full new moon ritual. On Wednesday night, in the darkness of the night, there'll be no moon visible in the sky that we can see, so you'll have to use your instinct. But maybe you can listen to this journey with me, and maybe you can really make some movement towards manifesting. That word sticks in my craw. It really have such a hard time with it. But the universe isn't like a cash machine. This is about making spiritual, energetic change. The way that we plug into the world around us, the way that we hear music or approach art, the way that we eat, the way that we taste, the way that we fuck, the way that we sleep, all of that stuff. I want you to feel this night as something shifting, something changing in you. I want it to feel like a rebirth. I think that this is the really beautiful, pivotal time to sort of stand on the edge together and realize that when Uranus moves into Gemini in a couple of weeks, that we're going to really feel the beginning of something, rather than focusing on all of the endings that we must witness, but are so difficult to balance sometimes. So I'm going to pull one card for each of the signs. Here we go. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We shall start with Cancer, as is the tradition. So if you're a Cancer rising, then this is your moment, babe. A new moon in the first house is the beginning of a 12-month cycle for you about who you are, who you're becoming, and where you're going from here. I want you to think about all the different parts that make you a Cancer. I want you to think about your access to your emotional health. I want you to think about your parental instinct. I want you to think about the ways that you unconsciously nurture every living thing around you. I want you to feel proud of that. I want you to feel the Cancer parts of you are innate. They're working behind the scenes without you even knowing. I want you to remember and to really recognize how many folks come to you for care and for love and for support. I want you to feel an enormous sense of purpose in that position. And I also want you to see the glinting mirrors that are shining that back to you. I want you to make a list of all of the people that care for you too, and be so grateful for them and understand that it's reciprocal, that your love is worth it, and you are worthy of receiving the love of others. This is the 5 of Cups, and it allows us to grieve. It allows us to feel our pain and our heartache. It allows us to sort of sit in it for a while, to really hold the truth in our heart, the truth of our pain, the truth of our longing for what is not here any longer. I want you to feel your sorrow, and I want you to feel protected by those around you in this time. That blanket that you throw on the shoulders of others all so often, the care and food and meals and hugs and chats that you provide for everybody else. Now it's your turn, Cancer. It's your turn to receive that back. At the new moon, I want you to expect the contact from others coming in. I want you to feel warmth and love from them. And I want you to be able to work in that complexity. You can feel warm and you can feel held at the same time as you feel completely broken. You are adored, Cancer. You're worth so much. And you care for every single one of us. And we're so very proud of that. We're so very proud of you. And we're so grateful for everything that you offer and everything that you provide. I'm so sorry that this is happening, Cancer. And I understand that you understand that this will pass and ease in time. But now is the time to feel it, to let it in. Leo. If you're a Leo rising, then Cancer is the sign that rules your 12th house, which is incredibly private. It's almost unspoken. At the beginning of the reading, I was talking about unconscious fears, or this unfounded fear of being buried alive. We could look at the 12th house to investigate and understand where that may be lying. Your 12th house, if you imagine your rising sign as the sign that was rising as you took your first breath, the 12th house is the sign that was rising before you took your first breath. It has its links and its attachments to past stories, past lives, if that's something that you believe in. It has links to ancestors and ancestral lines and tracks back through the ages. It has links to everything that happens while you sleep as well. The places that you go, the deals that you make, So a new moon in the 12th house is going to be really, really beautiful if you keep it in the chamber, keep it to yourself. Work with opening some of those doors in your unconscious. Work with understanding that different world. You got the Five of Wands, and so this could be a real opportunity for you to start conditioning some of this emotional literacy that you've been learning. Might be a really good time for you to put some of these self-protective strategies into effect. Might be a really good time to gently understand that sometimes the dreamland, the dream world, has some great clues for us as far as our realistic 2 feet on the ground real life. This feels not so worrying in terms of you being attacked or anything like that, but it does feel like you're conditioning yourself for something to come. So what I really love about mindfulness is that you can practice it at any time. And in some ways, when we get it correctly done, we can almost feel ourselves backing off from ourselves. If there's a fight that we want to pick with ourselves, you can almost feel that with the cortisol as it rises. You can feel that agitation. You can sense the level at which you're speaking to yourself, the tone of your voice in there. So with mindfulness, we get to crawl gently down the ladder. We get to witness the physical feeling, and we also get to recognize the difference between what's going on in here or out there and what's happening right here. It's a good skill to have, especially in the 12th house, because some of us, myself included, can get lost in there. Some people are frightened of their 12th house. I don't think that you are. I think you're ready to face it. So go with it, Leo. And in all brave acts of discovery, it's always good to have some sort of home base too. None of us have to do everything alone, but there are parts of our development that can only happen in solitude. So keep that anchor somewhere safe so you can start swimming out. Virgo. So if you're a Virgo rising, then Cancer is the sign that rules your 11th house, which is your humanitarian spirit. It's your idea or relationship with the human condition, with the human species itself. It has so much to do with your friendship groups that can really show you what the condition of your 11th house is in. And using that beautiful Cancerian costume in your 11th house, it also goes to show how much you deeply, deeply care about your friendship groups and those that you would call your second family, the communities that you roll in, your love of humankind. So this new moon is going to be a really powerful spot for you if you need to assess or reassess that part of your life. If we're working towards this big change, these big changes that are occurring around the planet, and thinking about the health and condition of your 11th houses, this will be the night to ask for some strengthening or some re-establishment of bonds too. You got the Ace of Cups, and so I think that you mustn't be scared to express yourself emotionally, Virgo. I think that there is a great big opportunity here to connect and to sit with those in your 11th house, to share a drink, to share a cup, and to tell your friends how you've been feeling, and also to listen to how they've been feeling too. This feels really honest and really powerful and really special for right now. So hopefully, as you can feel Jupiter and the sun and the moon all coming together, hopefully you can feel that great emphasis on mutual care. A healthy community, a healthy friendship has its eye out for every individual involved in that space. So use this time to think about your friendships, to send love letters if that's something that you'd like to do, but also just to simply reach out and say, we haven't spoken and I miss you. It will be received with such warmth and love if you do that. Now Mars has just entered your sign too, Virgo. And so if there is a sting in your tongue, that's okay. Work with your rage, work with your anger, and figure out what lays beneath that too. There's no sense in working on the attack at this time, although the Cancerian in all of us will attack first and then say sorry later. So understand that there's a heat of Mars in your sign that may be colouring the way that you're expressing yourself emotionally. Work with that and through that into the truth. And keep an eye and ear out for those in your friendship groups that also need that sort of permission to rage a little bit. Libra. If you're a Libra rising, then Cancer is at the very, very top of your chart. It's the most public, visible, consumable part of you. It's the part that has you perceived. Now, some of us have a difficult time with being perceived from time to time, but that's where it happens. It's what happens out in public. It's what you will become known for in the end. If you are career-minded, then a new moon in the 10th house is the perfect opportunity to think about the next step or the next evolution of where you're going with your work. But maybe think about your front-facing self and the visibility of Cancer as something of a skill that you have as far as connecting emotionally, as far as showing care to others. A lot of Libra risings that I know often work in the fields of nursing, caring, health. So with Jupiter in that triplicity with the sun and the moon, it does feel like a huge crown that's sort of sitting on your head at the moment, Libra. So let's get the tarot and see what else we can talk about. You got the sun, and so that's your ticket to ride, that's your ticket to glow and to be as yourself as you'd like to be. If you're a Libra rising, then maybe think about your sun sign, think about the most obvious, visible parts of you. On the Libra rising chart, there's a halo around this time. And so when it comes to your impulse to protect, to care, to nurture, when it comes to you wanting to be close to those that you love, wanting to make sure that everyone has what they need. Also, in the professional world of the 10th house, it might be a really good evening to sort of re-establish a boundary around your private and public too. As much as Cancer is so emotionally deep, the 10th house needs its healthy container and healthy boundary. So glow with the sun. Know that your impulses right now are really on point. Know that you've got nothing to hide, that everything's out in the open now, and so you can move forward in your knowledge and in your practical capability of helping organize, shift, move this stuff. Be proud of yourself, Libra, for everything that you've gone through and will continue to go through with all of us. And take a moment to feel that warmth on your skin, to feel contented. It's important right now. Scorpio. The beautiful thing about this Sun, the Moon, and Jupiter in Cancer right now is that they'll be forming a trine, so water sign to water sign, to Vesta in Scorpio. Now, Vesta I have talked about lightly, but I like to bring in the asteroids when they're in close consideration with the other planets. And for you, having Vesta in the first house might speak to something that feels quite magical and feels quite powerful. Cancer is your 9th house. That's where we learn. That's where we absorb spirituality. That's where we create a legacy. That's where we find a teacher, where we take a grand quest. We go on a pilgrimage to discover more about our soul. And so all of that energy in Cancer is being supported by Vesta in your first house. Vesta is the keeper of the sacred flame in all of us. Vesta is the witch. Vesta is the high priestess of fire. I was actually thinking about Vesta just last night. I've seen probably my favorite movie in a very long time. It's called Latin Blood, the Ballad of Ney Matogrosso. It's a Brazilian film. You need to see it. I think that Ney had a Scorpio moon sign too, but there was something so captivating about the way that this person moved their body and moved a room with the power of their music and their image. And the movie that they've made in celebration of Ney is so captivating. It reminds me so much of Vesta and our ability to really co-create with the dark. And so on this idea of going on a spiritual quest in the 9th house, you've got some real support happening there in your first house. So let's get a tarot card, but if you've not seen that movie yet, I highly recommend you check it out. This is the Page of the Page of Cups. And so as much as this person might seem a little bit naive, or perhaps a little bit youthful or not ready yet to enter something like this, got to remember that the pages were born with it. They have the access and skill of emotional literacy running through them. They've had it since birth. And so they can only improve on what was embedded in their psyche from long ago. So when looking at the 9th house and looking at Cancer and the Sun and the Moon and Jupiter in that 9th house, I feel something shifting in you, Scorpio. I think that there's something closer to the truth that you're really wishing to find right now. It feels like quite a personal journey, but it feels like you need to go outwards to find and retrieve some of this teaching, some of this information. If you're intending to go deeper into your spiritual education, then I think that this moon might be the perfect time to be specific about what you're asking for. And don't sweat it, babe. You're ready. You might not feel ready. Know that you can only improve. As a water sign, I think that this card's speaking pretty closely to you as far as your ability to work with this kind of energy, with this kind of force. It's really powerful, Scorpio. And with Vesta's support too, there's things that you can create from this moment as well. Move with this feeling. Some of the best ways that we can fight against darkness is to use our fire to change the energy field around us. So don't be scared. Go get it. Sagittarius. So if you're a Sagittarius rising, Cancer is the sign that rules your 8th house. And this is where we come into cosmic bond, where we sign a contract spiritually, and where we learn the profundity of grief and separation. There's a coming together, a forging together in the 8th house, and then a splitting apart. And it's up to us to recognize how we are going to move through this. It's a powerful, powerful place. A lot of people with big planetary energy in their 8th house are really good at the hard stuff. I think with following Jupiter as your guiding light, this is what's being emphasized right now for you. This could be literal contracts that you're signing. This could be something that is going to connect resourcefulness from other folks to you. This could be money that you're asking for, support that you're asking for. This is the powerful moment to really get specific with what you're going to do, with what you're asking for. So let's get the tarot, Sag, and let's see. You've got Temperance for you, Sagittarius, which is your major secret. This is your card in the major arcana of the tarot. I love the Temperance card because it reminds me of the power of magic, the impossibility of mixing fire with water to create anything is what the Temperance card teaches us all about. It takes a certain kind of fairy to do that. Speaking of fairies, because there is a big set of fairy wings there in this version of the Temperance card, and speaking about the 8th house and contracts to sign, this is going to maybe sound a bit weird, but I'm going to put it out there. When dealing with fairies, be very, very careful about what contracts you sign and what you agree to. If you're going to be co-creating with forces around you, or if you've been in the company of what feels like benefic magical forces, read the fine print. It's a lot of fun in fairyland. It's very, very seductive too, but it always comes at some sort of cost. So that's all I'll say. You're a big person now. You're a grown-up. You can do what you want. But just always be mindful of what you're signing away to the fairies, because they always ask for something in return. Capricorn. So if you're a Capricorn rising, then Cancer is the 7th house. Capricorn is yourself, your soul's mission, your individual speck of stardust. And if you look directly opposite you, we find the sign Cancer. And so by looking directly opposite us, we see the other. In the 7th house, you'll find all of your nearest and dearest relationships. You'll find all of the ways in which you exchange energetically with other people. You might find your partner in there, you might find your kids, you might find your clients if you're working one-on-one. You might find any form of reciprocity in the 7th house. And so what a beautiful thing to feel at this night, at this new moon. What a beautiful beginning for you to start again, to start things over with who you're collaborating with, asking for the emotional literacy and honesty and care from those in your relationships. Jupiter is emphasizing this part of your chart for the next year. So there's going to be a lot of blessings that come through for you as far as connecting, as far as working together, as far as reinvigorating perhaps pre-existing relationships as well. I think it's really gorge. And I think that that might be a really nice beginning point for what you might write about on Wednesday, thinking about your loved ones, your beloveds. So let's see what the tarot says. So you've got the Nine of Pentacles, which is in antithesis perhaps to what we receive and what we give to others. This card always reminds me of that moment in sunlight outside in the warmth after a really hard day at work. When you stretch up from something that you were doing on your knees, and you wipe your brow and you feel the blood rush from the bottom to the top, and you feel the circulation move, having changed your position from such hard work. You feel the sun on your skin, and you also feel the clarity of the air that you're breathing, and then something that feels like pride and satisfaction as you look around at what you've achieved so far. And to tie that beautiful moment, which seems quite solitary, into the 7th house, I think that we can probably layer the texture of that definition of other people into feeling a sense of group pride. The work that you've been doing and what you've been sort of collecting and shipping, sorting, organizing, that's coming to its crescendo soon, not quite yet. But I think at every stage of the process of work, of committing to something, there's a great time where you can feel satisfaction at the process, at the part or stage of the project that you've reached. And so I think that this card, in its lovely contentment with self, we haven't reached the 10 yet in the Pentacles, so it's not over yet. But in this moment, we're going to take a breath, we're going to look around at what we're creating, and we're going to name who it is that is helping that move, who is collaborating with you to help this thing to grow. It's really lovely, and plenty more work to come, Capricorn rising, but take this breath. And if you wanted to use the seed of the new moon as a marker point in your schedule or your diary, then think of this as the next phase, whether you're up to phase 1, 2, 3, or 4. This is the next phase of this thing, the next phase of collaborating with others, of reciprocating energy. Aquarius. So if you're an Aquarius rising, then Cancer is the sign that rules your 6th house, which is the place where we repeat, where we revise, where we act in service. And so looking at that configuration, looking at the overt definition of care that Cancer provides, 9 times out of 10 an Aquarius rising works in some way in the health, the benefit of health for other people, the benefit of health systems, healthy, the environment of health. And so also in the 6th house, there can be something that feels like servitude after a long repetition. There's something about finessing and going over and rehearsing and doing again that happens in the 6th house. And so a new moon will provide you with a lovely moment to look at your results so far, look at what you've achieved, and then make the action plan for the next round, the next stage. Jupiter is emphasizing your 6th house for the next year. So when it comes to your repetitive strategies, this could be something about your own emotional health and eco structure too. But thinking about the grindstone that the 6th house can sometimes represent, there's support and there's love and there's a bounty of hope and faith with Jupiter's company. So maybe if you're thinking about that place as like a place of drudgery and just like, oh God, really? We're going to talk about friggin' my servitude at the new moon? Oh, sick. If that's how you're feeling, know that we're adding an extra layer of faith to this, an extra layer of hope and possibility. So Pluto in that 1st house is in it for the long haul, darling. This is not going to let up for the next decade and a half. So we gather our strength in the 6th house and we repeat and we finesse and we rehearse and we practice all of the different ways that you're taking care of other people, but also yourself. And you got the 7 of Pentacles. You can see that there's a witch there with a broom and all the clean dishes. She's a bit fed up. She's like, oh, great. What's the point in cleaning up? There's going to be more mess tomorrow. That reminds me of The Witches of Eastwick, actually. If you've seen that movie. Weird. I love it, but I don't know why. Anyway, if life is feeling like a drudge at the moment, or if you feel that you have been on repeat, just on autopilot recently, Aquarius, if you feel that you just kind of can't freaking find the energy or the scope to do what you need to do in order to keep whatever it is running in your 6th house, I want you to feel that really fresh air, almost as if Jupiter's opened like a window in the room of your 6th house and is clearing out the cobwebs. I want you to feel re-energized as far as your active service and what is required of you in that role. And I want you to feel a sense of pride, hopefully. I want Jupiter to help you feel that pride in your work, because there's a lot more to come, and we want you to feel refreshed and energized in order to keep at it. Health workers now more than ever are an absolutely essential element of our society, and hopefully there can be ways that we can find more of them or make that life path more enticing. Burnout can happen so quickly in healthcare. So that might be too specific for you. You might not work in healthcare, but that's just something to think about. You know, you're a healthcare worker in some capacity in your life, Aquarius. Maybe not professionally, but in the ways that you operate in your relationships as well. So window open, fresh air coming through, because we need to maintain this efficiency in our emotional literacy. Sorry, it was a bit boring, but it's good for you, actually. I think that's good. Think of the practical ways that you can take care of that part of your world right now. You've done a lot to get here, and now there's more to do, but we want you to be primed for it rather than exhausted or burnt out. Pisces. So if you're a Pisces rising, then Cancer is the sign that rules your 5th house of your individual self-expression. The 5th house is where we create, we dance, we draw, we laugh, we fuck, we enjoy. And so thinking about that Jupiter company, it's only been a couple of weeks. It's going to be another 12 months or so. Really harken back to middle of 2013 to 2014 if you wanted to use that as a timeline of going back. Also recognize that other things in our galaxy have moved as well. I've been thinking about that a lot, actually, about the good old days. And I've been doing a lot of deep work of my own to reconcile and to admire the good old days and to bid them a fond farewell. I think that that can clear room for newness in the 5th house. I think that that's what a new moon provides too. So focusing on your artist and focusing on your lover, how are those two things feeling ready to begin again? And how can you be sweet to yourself and your body and your creative mind, your creative space? How can you clean it out, tend to it, make it feel beautiful, make it feel alive? And how can you begin this process again, Pisces? You've got the Knight of Wands. And I love that. And I always imagine a horse, although on this card it's a penny farthing, and a match. So think about that movement. The wands are fire. So that's magic and passion. The Knight is on the move. So work with that kind of warm root chakra, if you like, Pisces. This feels like the artist coming back. This feels like a re-ignition of your creative self, your creative identity. If you've been feeling that that has been difficult to access because it's been confusing for the past 12 months, maybe with Jupiter in Gemini, or for whatever reason, hopefully I can articulate this change in forces. Hopefully you can feel the fire starting to brew. Hopefully the creativity and the inspiration starts to amount for you. I want you to move into this next 12 months with your paintbrush in your teeth and your eye on your creations. I want you to think about the difference between content and between artwork. I want you to think about stepping away from a regimented system, or I want you to also think about eyes on the work being important at all. Fifth house is probably not very interested so much in that. There's something really messy and expressive about the fifth house, and I want that for you. I want you to go deep with your art. I want you to go deep with your sensuality. I want you to go deep with your passions. I want you to feel the fire of the night, and I want you to sit on the back of their horse, and I want you to mark out your next 12 months from here to there. What are you going to create around you? What are you going to build? What are you going to put out into the world? Not for consumption, but for an energetic flow that we all need. Think about Cancer, think about love, think about nurturing, protecting, think about how your art nurtures and protects others. That's it, babe. Do it tonight. Get it started. Okay, Aries. Now, if you're in Aries rising, we've got a bit of a square that's happening at this new moon. So Cancer and Aries are both cardinal signs, and so there's always some sort of conflict. We have cardinal fire, the match, which is you. We have cardinal water, which is Cancer. And so butting heads, sometimes that can arise. This Sun, this Moon and Jupiter are all forming a loose, not exact square with Neptune and with Saturn. So all of that is to say, all of this talk about emotional flow through and, the shimmering power of connecting emotionally and of expressing yourself emotionally and of being shown love and encouragement and support might at this time feel a bit restricted. There might be so much that you're wanting to say or so much that you're wanting to throw out there that might feel a bit contained. But if we look to where Cancer is on your birth chart, it's the fourth house, which is your home, your privacy, the four walls that you have created to give yourself something that feels like sanctuary, something that you're creating for yourself separate from what is being put out there into the world. This is where you go to regroup, to plug in your to fill up, I think is what I'm trying to say, rather than putting out. And so a new moon in the fourth house has me thinking that there might be a nice imagining that you can do at this time. Remember that for the next 12 months, Jupiter is going to be moving through that fourth house and emphasizing and growing a sense of possibility in where it is that you're going to live, or you do live, or at home in those walls, in those dynamics. So you're being supported through this, even though at the moon it might feel a bit tense. There might be a barrier. You might have had to really have closed off emotionally before you can unfurl. So let's see what the tarot says about that. You got the Ace of Wands. So resist against that tension if you can, Aries rising, and mark down in your diary what home looks like to you. All of us are searching for a place to land, a place to belong, a soft spot to rest. You're entitled to that just as much as everybody else. And so use your magic at this new moon. Resist the constriction of Saturn if you can. You're trying to. I know you are. Remember that Jupiter is in power in Cancer and Saturn's not in power in Aries. So if there's things that trigger you over the next couple of weeks as we move towards a full moon, then just make note of them and try not to react in anger, but also know that warmth and privacy is on the way for you again. If that's been difficult to ascertain lately, then this is what we're going to really call in and look forward to, is a sense of privacy, sanctity, sanctuary at home. Think about your family too, and think about the different ways that you've learned about safety at home, and think about what you're creating for yourself. That's the match of the tarot, just like you're the match of the zodiac. So use it wisely, Aries. Taurus. So if you're a Taurus rising, then Cancer is the sign that rules your third house, which in the Hellenistic tradition was called the house of the goddess. So the modern connotation has its link to our relationships with our siblings, with our neighborhood, our village. And the ancient definition had its links to goddess worship, to the feminine principle, to what we do to connect with our goddess and to commune with our goddess. And I like this because there's something that's about to happen for you in Taurus. So I think it's on the 4th of July. Venus, your guiding light, who's been with you for the last couple of weeks, is going to make an exact conjunction with Uranus. So Uranus has been with you for some years now. That rebel spirit that's been sort of activating in all manner of different ways, some of them hard to contain. Well, Venus, the summit of beauty and love, and Uranus are going to conjoin. And that's right before, maybe a week before, Uranus then moves into Gemini. And then we feel that wave rush over us. We consolidate all of the ways that we have learned to flip the table on convention and things and systems having to change that we are instigating. But I want you to think about the beauty of Venus and how Venus can represent the feminine idea, represents women, femmes of all genders. But there's a power and a beauty and a ferocity with Venus, especially in Taurus, because Venus is just at home in Taurus. So how are we flipping on its head the convention of woman, the convention of the feminine? How are we flipping and turning that around? And how are we standing in the new configuration? I've got 2 badges here representing both of those planets. You probably can't see them, but for Uranus, I have this badge that says "Make way for the matriarchy," which is some merch from Hot Brown Honey, a beautiful show that I saw some years ago. And for Venus, this was a gift, and it says "Fem as fuck." So I think those 2 badges, those 2 slogans might come in handy for you in the next couple of weeks as we move into the full moon. But focusing back in on Cancer, you can see that there is a connotation to celebrate the goddess. Goddess worship occurs in the 3rd house in the ancient tradition. So where's our femininity? Where's our sisters? Where's our lovers? And how are we operating in that space, in that body that's very different perhaps than what it was before? Where's our power coming from now? So you've got the 4 of Pentacles. So it almost feels like a whirlwind, a bit of a storm with Uranus about to leave after all this time and then enter into Gemini. Don't worry, they'll be retrograding back, so we'll get another taste of this at the end of the year. But whatever is happening, it does feel like a cyclone. And so 2 feet firmly planted on the ground, a staunch mentality. And immovability is perhaps what we're required to put forward during a cyclone, but also what this cyclone is really resisting against. Staunchness and immovability doesn't really feel like it's having its moment right now. So where have you been too, perhaps, staunch or immovable in your concept of the goddess, in your concept of the feminine spirit? What does femininity even mean to you, if it means anything to you? Feel that change, feel that movement in the definition, the movement in the language, the movement in the conscious awareness of such things. Stand in your house of the goddess and howl with them. Call them all in. Feel protected by Venus. Feel wrapped up in her beauty and her love. Feel proud and strong in your gender, no matter which it is on that beautiful spectrum we have. Claim it for yourself. Claim parts of the goddess for you, because no matter who you are, you're entitled to some of that goddess love. And Gemini. So if you're a Gemini rising, then Cancer is the sign that rules your second house, which is your money, your access to coin, your value system, what you believe in, and what your principles are articulating for you. And so to have a new moon in there, that's great for money matters, that's great for getting really practical and a head start on financial matters, but also think about this sort of growth that's occurring with Jupiter too. So hopefully for the next 12 months, Gemini, you might feel some development in that place for you. Know that the Sun and the Moon and Jupiter are all working in synergy at this time. So whatever it is that you do ask for, be prepared to receive it. What I really like about having Cancer in the second house, as you do if you're a Gemini rising, is I feel the singularity of Cancer. Cancer often feels responsible for care of other people. They feel that is their responsibility to nurture and to keep safe those around them. And so by tying that definition into your ideas of money and your value system, I think that that's a really nice thing to be proud of, that when it comes to your finances, it's seldom to do with yours alone. There is something of a, what can I do with this that I have to foster care for those around me? So let's look at the tarot and see what's going on. You got the King of Wands. So of all people in the tarot, if you're asking a genie from a lamp to make a wish, then you can rely on the King of Wands to grant that wish. This is someone who is in their magic, who is in their status as a master in their field. There's so many words that make me feel uncomfortable. Master is one of them, but you understand what I mean. This person knows what they're doing. And so what I'm looking at with the King of Wands, I'm almost feeling Jupiter's character in there. I think that Jupiter leaving your sign might feel like some relief, because Jupiter can bring about all matter of mixed messages for a Gemini. It can be very confusing because there's bouts of inspiration, but then bouts of despair. Feel that moving away from you and recognize that Jupiter does beautiful work in Cancer. And so for 12 months, you're working with something of a master here. So when it comes to resourcing yourself, when it comes to funding whatever project it is you need to fund, when it comes to putting food on the table for your loved ones, know that for the next 12 months, you are supported in the cosmos. And we said that the universe is not a cash machine. We absolutely know that to be true. But when it comes to asking for assistance, this is what we can do with Jupiter. So if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. Well, I think that's it, everyone. That's our journey with Cancer. That's our journey with the new moon. That's our night for manifestation. Manifest the possibilities of love and care and connection. So if you're still here with me and you've listened to the whole thing, can you please put a little crab in the comments? Or just let me know how you've been feeling. This has been, as I said, a very pivotal time in my life. And by journeying beneath the Earth's surface, I felt so reconnected with it. And by journeying in my mind with what Cancer represents to me, I feel ready for it. I feel ready to give it, and I feel ready to receive it. So I hope that you can too. If you'd like to support my work, you can send me some tip money via my PayPal handle at umarubytarot. You can also subscribe to this channel at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby for 10 Australian dollars a month. I've got a very devoted contingent of monthly subscribers, which I'm very grateful for. It really does provide me with some sense of stability in this very unstable world. Also, if you'd like me to read your birth chart, then you can head to my website, umaruby.com, and you can book yourself a spirit reading with me. If it's your first time, or if you'd like to see me again, you can head to the other options for a reading. You can pick the In the Dark, Dress Your Wound, or Back to Life readings. They're tailored to my experience over the past 6 months, and there's journeys there that we can take together if you're feeling in the dark, if you're feeling wounded, or if it's ready for you. The time is now for you to stand up again. So think it over. I also offer tarot readings. If this stuff is a bit too many moving parts, we can just work with the cards and you and me, and we can ask them what you need to hear. So you can book a reading for 15 minutes, half an hour, or an hour. All of the info is on the bookings tab of my website. So much love to you. Thank you very much for being here with me and listening to me and journeying with me. I will be with you in time to describe further what Uranus and Gemini might mean for us, what we might anticipate, and also to sort of name and witness that changeover. And then we will have the Capricorn full moon. So action stations, my friends. Now is the time to get the blankets, the pillows, the food, everything. Get it together. Let's make a fort and let's weather this storm as a group. I've got you. Much love.